Hello, everyone. I'm here with Shinya Maeda, Senior Backend Developer on the release group. We are discussing today an issue. Let me share my screen as well, so it's clear on the recording. For invalid environment not being created should be surfaced to the user. So as the title says, essentially, this issue is about pipelines that create an environment where there's an error in the environment creation, so it's not created, even though the pipeline may succeed, and that error is not surfaced to the user right now. So we are discussing ways to surface this to the user in a way that makes sense. Does that sound correct, Shinya?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So
if I add one point,
yeah.
This issue is talking about environment is not created, but technically there are two buttons that environment is not created and the environment is not updated.
Right.
Yeah, I can demonstrate, that today's user's experience, if you want, like creating a dummy project and what users actually see today.
Yeah, for sure.
Then let me share my screen. So, sorry, I don't have any preparation, so I'm not sure if this demo goes well, but let's just create a new project. And an environment. Invalid environment demo. So here's a demo project, and let's set up the CI/CD pipeline. In this demo, we wanna review up. It's a deployment script, dummy deployment script, and then environment. Its name is review. Commit left name. This is the part that coming from branch name. So let's commit this file. So we just set up this.
Sorry, this variable, it maps to the branch name or to the commit name?
Yeah. Branch name,
right.
You will see. So this is our CI/CD pipeline we just created for this project. So for initiating the review app, let's create a merge request. I'm going to edit this readme, whatever thing, and then future branch. I don't know, change readme and create a merge request. There you go. So I created this merge request and then pipeline runs. So as you can see in that this review branch name, this environment is created successfully. So this is a expected behavior. Everything's went well. But for example, if we create a merge request with a branch name that includes special keyword that is allowed for Git ref, but it's not allowed for environment name, it's gonna be, so user creates a successfully merge request, and then they see this pipeline. Like everything seems normal, right? But they don't say environment here because if things goes well, user should see environment / future dash exclamation mark, but exclamation mark is not allowed for environment records. So the expected environment is not created. So this is exactly the case that environments is not created with the pipeline. So the first question is that how do we present this error, surface this error for users?
Right. Even before that, you probably have the answer to that question, but why are the character records for environments not the same set as for Git? Like, is that a change that we could make?
I don't know the reason. Just I think it makes sense. Like your point is very, you're making very good point that maybe we should make the validation set that use the same validation between GitLab ref and the environment name. But yeah, it is what it is today.
Yeah, because I mean, there may be some big technical reason for it.
Yeah.
Adding an error alert is the smallest iteration that we could make to improve this. But yeah, maybe something that we can think in the future, because then like we just cut down the root of the error, and the error just, at least this kind of error doesn't happen anymore, right? The environment fail for other reasons, and then it's good to have the alert, but this is no longer one of them, perhaps.
Yeah, I just remember that why we don't allow special keyword in environments, that environment has a feature to generate slug, so URL for environment. So this URL doesn't allow special keywords. All right, so yeah, that's a reason. If you don't mind, I can continue to the environment update failure, though. Do you want to spend time on this?
Yeah, we can go on.
Okay. So the next case, the environment update failure, is a bit tricky, but actually happening on users project. Sorry. So in the CD pipeline, users can also set the URL, something like HTTPS. What's a good example for this? Yeah. Wait. So sorry. So, for example, like a setting URL like this, but URL could be invalid sometimes. For example, I don't know, just invalid something. This is an invalid URL. Update the CD pipeline. Let's create a merge request. Future one. This is a valid environment name. So we should see, yeah, environment is created. So this seems going well, right? But I think that the system fails to update this environment after the deployment job has finished. Maybe we can check some environments. This is the environment we just created. Success. Wait, how can we check that? Deployment frequency. Wait. I get a better example. How can I do that? let's go to merge request. So let's back to the first merge request that created environment successfully. We changed this pipeline definition to, let's set the URL, valid URL. Okay, the commit. Okay, now the second pipeline is running. Right, then job finished. Then we see the environment here. Okay, so this is a first merge the preview app that's created by the first merge request, and then we just set the URL, right? The Google website, and then since the URL is correctly set to this environment record, users see this view deployment button to go to this linked website. So this is expected behavior. But back to the last merge request we created. In this merge request, we set invalid URL, right? Like this one. So if it's invalid, the URL cannot be set to environment. Therefore, user don't see this button, the jump to the deployment environment page button. So the system tried to update the environment record after the deployment finished, but since URL is invalid, this system failed in this case, implicitly failed. So users will be confused that, hey, I just set the URL for this environment, but I don't see anything. I don't see even errors. What's going on here? This is a very explicit example, but in real case, it's much more hard to determine the diagnose a problem, because it looks like, for example, like this. Is this valid URL or not? I think this is invalid because GitLab internally doesn't allow HTTP protocol, only HTTPS. So like in this case, users will be really confused. Like at a glance, the URL looks valid, but something failed on the backend. Yeah, that's how the second case, that environment update failure. And then back to the issue that maybe you can take it over though, how we surface these errors to users so that they can take an action. Like at least they have an idea, like something went wrong, and then ideally the exact error message that lets them users to take an action to fix their CD pipelines.
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind for me is going over the current behavior of the pipelines when these things happen. So right now, on all of these cases where there was an error to the environment being created, the pipeline still succeeded, right?
Yes.
Like the failure to create an environment is not considered a failure by our rules on running the jobs. So the first thing I would ask is that doesn't seem to be the ideal state of things. So do we consider that the pipeline jobs should output a different state in this case? And if so, which state? Because just saying success is not entirely true, right?
It's a tricky that when job succeeded, it mostly means that job script succeeded. So in this case, job scripts, we just implemented the dummy deployment code, though the script surely succeeded. So the simplest idea would be for the create problem, the first problem, it just failed the maybe it makes sense to just fail the deployment job. So first merge request, which one? Wait. Yeah, this one. The second merge request we created that includes this invalid character. Maybe this deployment job should fail. And then we show a message that environment creation failed because this character. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because for me, it makes sense that traditionally jobs were used for testing and AI purposes. So it makes sense that the success of the job is a reflection of the success of the script that the job is running. But if we're talking about the deployment script, if the deployment script succeeds, but the deployment action does not, then the deployment job failed, right? So I think
I agree.
It's a matter for us to deciding if we want to fully fail that job or if we want to introduce some distinction. I think it was you that mentioned passed with errors that we currently don't have. We just have passed with warnings, right? I think the way these are set up, if we abstract away from the specific errors, it's saying like the script succeeded, but the infrastructure around it failed, right? Something external to the script has failed. So maybe it is the case of either failing everything, like if a part external to the script fails on a deployment job or any job, then we fail the whole job. Or we implement some sort of state that is passed with errors to tell the user, hey, it passed with errors. And what that means is the actual script of the job is successful. Like you don't have to fix your code or fix the testing script, but external factors failed, and these are the factors.
Yes, I agree with that. Maybe the first proposal for this issue that we should fail that deployment job.
I think that's simpler for the time.
Yes. The only concern in this path is that it's gonna be, it could be very disturbing change for users, some users. For example, we are recording currently tracking this case in this error tracking system, and we can see that like 3,000 events every day. Users are wrongly using this. After we started failing these jobs, these users are going to face like maybe they're be surprised that why my deployment suddenly started failing, which is correct behavior, but the tricky problem is how we gracefully roll out this change. We definitely use a future flag at least. Maybe communicate with customers in advance. Probably that actions will be needed. Well, I think we can almost agree with the proposal for the first case. Though I'm kind of I don't really have a good idea how we address the second case, which is environment update failure. So in this demo project, it's a third merge request. So do you think this job should also fail?
So remind me, which case was this? Like which error?
The second case, that environment update failed. Environment creation succeeded, but environment update failed. Because in this case, environment URL is invalid. Yes.
Right. Yeah, I think I mean, if it failed to update, then it should be a failure still.
The failure still.
Yeah.
Um,
Because if you think about it, sure, the deployable artifact was deployed, right? The environment was updated, but then we broke the URL. So this might break other things in the system. Like, sure, maybe for their system, HTTP is fine, so nothing breaks on their end. It's broken from GitLab perspective, but we don't know that, right? And the error might be the first variation we did, like with a completely invalid URL. So we currently have no way of knowing that. So out of safety, I would fail everything. But I think this is also a product decision with how we want to approach it. And if we want to go this route, just figuring out how do we communicate with our user base to make sure that it's almost like a deprecation in a way, like we have to let them know in advance that something that was currently working, at least from their perspective, will no longer be working, right? We will start
yes.
breaking something that we were communicating was not breaking. So their errors will be blown up. So be aware.
Yeah. The tricky point is that the error is hard, whether hard failure or soft failure, soft error or hard error. I don't know if all embedded cases is really critical for users. We're starting making it hard failure though. Which
question?
Yeah.
You mentioned having a feature flag for this, and you gave me the idea. Should we roll out this option as a setting that is opting by default?
Sorry. Update what?
Should we introduce this change as a setting that is opting by default? So we roll out to every users, and then some users say, "Oh, my errors are blowing up," and then they see our blog post or communication saying, "Oh, this is actually a setting that you can turn off." So if for your organization, like I don't care if environments fail in our use, it doesn't make a difference. You can turn it off, and then they won't register as errors.
What are you just referring is project configuration, project level configuration, not feature flag. Feature flag is they're kind of similar to project level configuration, but only GitLab can control. So it's we can also go down this path, like maybe they create a setting CI/CD and then like fail, I don't know, checkbox, create yet another checkbox that fail deployment job if the system failed environment creation will update. That's also one of the approaches.
Yeah. So just to start wrapping it up, because we're almost at time, I think the options that we have are either to make environment creation failure and environment update failure to fail the jobs entirely, like it goes red, but then we have to figure out how to communicate that to our users. Another option is to introduce a new state that is passed with errors, so we communicate that. And then in both cases, we would have an alert component on the job log page, right?
Two comments. Introducing a new status is definitely the listing, the last resort. We do not want to introduce yet another status. It's a very complicated, big change.
Right.
And the second thing is that should we split this issue into two? Like one is create one, and then the other one is update failure. It seems like for the create failure case, we almost we're almost certain that the failing job will be the way to go. We're just addressing this specific problem at first and then iterate on for the environment update failure in the next iteration.
I mean, if you think it's valid, we can do it. I don't know from the backend perspective if it's worth separating, but if you think so, it makes sense. Yeah. I think from the experience perspective, the experience should be the same.
Okay. Yeah.
But then if you think it's worth implementing in one case first and then in the other, like one iteration after the next, like we can go for that as well. Because I think the environment creation failure is the most critical one, right?
Yes, yes. Should be surfaced.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. So let's then reconvene these ideas in the thread. I can comment them over there, and then you can correct anything that's necessary. But then depending on the feedback that they give, then we move forward with a proposal and split the issues. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
Cool. One last thought that I have is right now these errors, they don't surface in the actual job log, right?
No.
Right. Is there a way we could add that? Because I think it would be nice, because right now the job log, as far as I understand, it only goes over the actual scripts that are inside the
Yeah.
right? But nothing external to them.
Yeah. These scripts are just directly reflects what executed in GitLab runner. So this is a kind of untouchable place from environment perspective. Though we can show additional information around here. It's basically fetching database records through the build job pipeline jobs and the environments record, and then we can show this type of information.
Cool. Yeah, I think it would be nice to show in the log itself. But yeah, if it's not possible, then adding an alert on top also works well. Cool. Yeah, I think that's it from me. Do you have anything else?
No. Yeah, let's keep discussing asynchronously in the issue.
Yeah. Oh, and I'll also create an issue for the open live environment button that disappears if the URL is invalid. I think that's a UX issue that we can fix separately, but it's important to save it. So I'll create an issue for it.
Nice.
All right. Thanks for the chat, Shinya.
Thanks.
All right. Have a good day. Cheers.
Yeah. Bye.